everybody, and hope everybody is having a great beginning of their week. I know I had an amazing weekend, and it's going to be an incredible week coming up. A lot of cool things happening, and it's interesting because, yes, with cool things, challenges happen as well. But I wanted to come on and talk because I haven't talked about my story in a very long time, other than bits here and there. I'm usually very open about my life, and because I feel very strongly that if you're going to teach principles of peace and understanding and healing, that you should be honest about your own healing journey. And so, like everybody, we all have struggles, right? We all have things that happen in our life, and we all have pains that we're working through, and we all have opportunities to grow even more. And so, first, let's say this: I don't teach or talk about anything that I haven't gone through myself. So I may read something in a book to give me help when I'm going through something. I may consult with somebody to work through things, or I may work through with spirit. So I've always felt that the universe is talking to us at all times. It's not just through some spiritual epiphany, although sometimes that is the case. And it comes to us in many different ways. So it can come through us in synchronicities or signs that happen. It can come to us through books that we read. It can come to us through connections with other people, through teachers, or interactions with other people. So with that being said, the universe is always talking. The divine is always talking. Whatever you want to call it, it's always there. So let's start off with my story. So I was born to a 15-year-old father and a 16-year-old mother in 1974. So you can just imagine that my parents were kids when I was born. And with that being said, both of my grandparents are old enough to witness the Great Depression in the 30s, the 20s and the 30s. And so with that, there is a thing called generational post-traumatic stress that happens as a result of that. But I won't get too much into that story. I was raised by my mother. And not that my father doesn't love me, he does, but I wasn't raised by my father. And so with that being said, my mother put herself through nursing school, first LPN school in 1979, and also to be a registered nurse in 1987 to 1989. So while raising her son, and sometimes we were living in a motel so that we could keep our rent reduced, so that she could afford tuition to college and also work part-time as an LPN while she went to college. So with that being said, my mother was constantly working towards bettering her life for herself and her son. My mother also had a lot of other dreams that when she was a kid, like most of us, and she wasn't able to necessarily work towards some of those dreams because she had a child. And so I had a very loving, supportive mother, and I have a very loving, supportive father. So with that being said, I was also have both of my parents' work ethic. I work very hard. My mother and somebody said to me recently that's known me since I was 11 years old, as long as I've known you, you set a goal for yourself, you work towards it, and you keep on working towards it until you achieve it. And then you set another goal and you work towards that. And you've always been a very hard worker. And it's because you've always believed in growing and improving yourself. So the other thing is I will tell you, and if anybody's ever read the first chapter of my book, I'm very open and honest about the fact that I did not care for myself. I did not love myself at all. Matter of fact, I would look in the mirror and think that nobody's ever going to love me besides my mother. Nobody's ever going to care about me. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not good enough. We've all had these emotions, right? They've all been there. And so I share those same emotions with everybody. So I also went on a journey, much like a lot of other young people, doing a lot of drugs and partying a lot when I was younger. We're not talking about just going to the clubs and dancing and stuff like that. I would say that I had an addiction to crystal meth. And so now I can feel everybody's energy pull back when they say that. But here's the truth. I would not trade those moments for anything, because what they did, and going through those, I got to go through this experience, the lowest of the low of emotions. And it's always dark before we achieve light. So one of the reasons why I have very much a positive energy is because I've had some amazing spiritual teachers that have come into my life, and one in particular who's a very good friend of mine now, named Virginia Drake. My mother was also one of my spiritual teachers and taught me energy healing. That, believe it or not, I did not listen to her while she was teaching to me, because do sons ever actually listen to their mother? I didn't necessarily listen to her until after she had passed away. But Virginia taught me how to face myself. She taught me how every time I was mad or angry or upset or hurt or broken, she would make me look within. She'd say, that's an opportunity to look within. And all these things that happen to you, they are opportunities for you to heal and break apart that energy so you can bring it back into flow with the energy of the universe. So I don't have a lot of, as I look at things and my goal was to become more peaceful. So that's the name of my book, Peace Be Still. And so why? Because I sat there and I thought, if I can become peaceful within myself, then I don't always have to teach this, because the peace and my own life, just living my own life, will be teacher enough as it is. I don't need to go out there and put effort out to do that. Although I do love sharing my experiences. And the reason why I love sharing my experiences is because I want people to experience the same joy and the same peace that I experience. Now, it's a practice. One of the things that I will tell you is it's a practice. And in 2006, everything fell apart in my life. And so I lost everything. My car, my home, a bunch of stuff was stolen from me, but by somebody I trusted. I had to move home to my mother's house in Florida from Pennsylvania. And I really just felt the lowest of the low. I relapsed on doing a lot of drugs and went through a 4-year journey of very much self-loathing. And so I tell you this story because we've all been there. We've all had some type of area where we've had to grow and we've hit rock bottom and we've had to build ourselves back up. So now some would say to me, you don't have to explain this to Jared. You've said it to before. And you're right, I don't. And the important thing is I've always felt when we speak from our heart and we speak from where we came from, that in itself helps people more than anything else. So I'm hoping that my words, as people are out there struggling, will know that we've all struggled. And hey, guess what ends up happening after the struggle? If we set the intention on healing and growing and looking, the important thing is looking and looking for opportunities to heal, then the road back upward will be there. Everything always has to come back up. And so I wanted to share this with you today because I have always wanted to travel. I traveled as a corporate trainer for many, many years and was very fortunate to have my job pay for my training, or pay for my travel. It also paid for my training in my college. And I didn't necessarily embrace that opportunity back in the early 2000s. When I was getting the check to cover all of my tuition, I was spending it on things that I didn't necessarily, so I should have been doing. I should have been putting it towards college. And so therefore, I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger. Like a lot of us, we make a lot of mistakes when younger. As we get older, we get wiser. And so I always jokingly tell my friends that the gray hairs in my beard came from them. But the gray hairs in my beard obviously came from getting older, but also wisdom comes through experience. And so I don't have all the answers, and nor do I ever want to know all the answers. All I want to do is share my experience, and hopefully that experience will help another person. And so with that being said, I wanted to build a life where I was traveling. And so I've always wanted to continue to travel, even though I did it as a corporate trainer. There's so many things I want to see, and I'm very much like my mother, in a sense where I have very much a gypsy type of mentality. And so I would love to be somewhere new all the time. The only thing that holds me back is my friends that live here in Florida that I consider my family. And then my family that lives in Minnesota and Arizona as well. I love them very much as well. So with that being said, I also love helping motivate and inspiring people to fulfill their dreams. And I'm hoping that because I pursue and work on myself all the time, and I have an ego, I have pain, I have sorrow, and I've experienced depression, and I've continued to work through those things on a regular basis. I hold on to things sometimes too long, and I don't let go of things when I should. And so that's how I teach. I teach through my own mistakes and then what I learn from my mistakes. Because how else could you teach? You can only teach from experience. You can only learn from experience. And so what I've done throughout my life is practice, because nobody's going to get this all the time. And not even the Dalai Lama gets this all the time. We all have things that we grow from. I've had 10 years of a podcast, actually 11 years of a podcast. I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of authors or spiritual teachers, some of the great ones that have been on big shows like Oprah and Larry King. I've interviewed them. What I found is they're people just like us. They make mistakes just like us. They hurt just like us. They have depression just like us. They have downfalls. They get nervous just like us. And what I think is the coolest thing about that is it tells us that we're all here just doing the best we can with what we have. So I'm going to continue to build a world where I travel as much as possible until I can no longer travel again. And so I'm going to continue to build something where I can share my joy and my love of travel and my love of spirituality with other people, because that's what I feel my soul's mission is to continue to share. And the only way to teach is by doing. And so, yeah, there's some things that I'm going to be doing. And just to put it out there, yes, I do charge money for my sessions and for the things that I do for my books and my programs. Here's the reason why. Because at the end of the day, I have to pay for my electric bill, I have to pay for my car payment, and I have to pay for my groceries and the way for me to eat. And so if I didn't charge for those things, then I wouldn't necessarily be able to do the work that I'm doing. And so there is always a give and take in this world. There's always flow between all of us. And so as we build that energy, and I can help you, I'm hoping that the energy will help each other, and we build this energy of flow between all of us. And so, yes, I did want to come on and chat about this because there's some incredible things coming up for myself. And I feel like the year is going to I'll have some ups and downs, and I'm always accused of being too positive. And here's the thing. And because I will find in the worst of situations, I will find the positive in it. And I think that is a strength, not a weakness. We can always look at what is not good in the world. We can always look at what is bad in the world. And the difference is we can be aware of those things, and we can choose to choose our own attitude. I saw that quote many years ago, and I studied a guy named Frankl who talked about being in the Nazi death camps and about how we have the power to choose our own attitude. He became my teacher. And when I was complaining about the rest of the world, I wish to be reminded about what he went through, and nothing I was going through would compare to what he was going through. And so with that being said, I felt like, well, let's work on myself. Let's continue to work so that I can find the positive in the situation, so I can find the love in my heart for other people, so I can work on myself. And when we work on ourselves, then we by default help other people. And so if we're all constantly working on ourselves, we will change this planet. And we will change it for ourselves, our families, our loved ones, our friends, and everybody else, just by giving love to ourselves. And when we give love to ourselves, it's automatic to other people. We don't have to worry about how we focus on it for other people. So what I would challenge you guys with is to work on understanding yourselves, and by default, you will understand other people, because we're all going through the same pains. We're all going through the same worries. At the beginning of the pandemic, I thought, wow, what's going to happen? My cruise business had collapsed. I had to cancel a cruise, and I was expecting and hoping that year that I wouldn't have to work a day job after that. And so I've had to cancel 2 cruises really since the beginning of the pandemic. Well, that was one of the means that I wanted to share travel with other people and my love of cruises. And also share something that would help people heal and have an amazing event and a community event where we've shared space with each other. I haven't been able to do that through the pandemic, but I am hoping that I'm going to be doing that here in the near future. And so I have another event coming up in Belize. Yes, it is a little pricey for it. And for those that can come, I'm so happy that you're going to be able to come. And with that being said, it is an all-inclusive trip where I'm paying for everything with the exception of your airfare. And so that includes your food, your lodging, and everything. Now, yes, I have to charge money for that because I can't afford to pay for everybody. And that is a lesson I had to learn a long time ago because I always wanted to pay for everybody. I always wanted to take care of everybody. But that's something we just can't do. We can't save or help everybody, but we can love them and we can provide a space that for the people that are supposed to be there, will be there. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. I love you all. More to come, more incredible things to come. The show has moved over to my YouTube channel and fully on the Los Angeles Tribune social media. That's on Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And I am hoping to see all of you at the show. And if not, you can connect with me on private message, and I will definitely be there to chat with you. And I just want to leave everybody with much love and peace.